Hey guys, welcome back to Rossoneri TV. I'm Gio and I'm here for another AC Milan news live stream to speak about the latest news and rumors currently going on at AC Milan. Now, once again today, not many news to speak about in terms of updates considering certain players, but there are some interesting reports that I did want to speak about concerning Keita Balde and Deulofeu. As usual, let me know your comments regarding these players in the comments section below, and I'll be reading them throughout the live stream. Now, first of all, I wanted to speak about Keita Balde because there were some reports today coming in from his former agent, and it seems to be that, Keita and Milan could actually come to an agreement, not this winter, but it's very likely that it could happen in the summer. Now, his former agent had this to say. He said that a move to the Rossoneri is very possible for the player in the summer. He says, in my opinion, though, it'll go in June because no team is going to pay what Lotito is currently asking for. That is 25 to 30 million euros at the moment for a player who is going to the Africa Cup of Nations this month and will be back in February in who knows what condition. And this is a very good point that was brought up by his former agent because let's be honest with ourselves, the guy is not going to be playing this month. He's going to the Africa Cup of Nations. Who knows what could happen to him? Knock on wood for him, he might be getting an injury, something might happen to him. We might not even be sure that this player could play for us if he comes back from the Africa Cup of Nations being injured. So we have to be careful in this, and chances are that no team will be able to even get him this winter. And I've said this for the last couple of days. I believe that this player will most likely arrive in the summer, and if it's not at Milan, I predict that he will arrive or go to another team in the summer. It's just very unlikely that he will come to a team in the winter, specifically for this thing that he's part of the Africa Cup of Nations with Senegal, that is his national team. But there's a good chance that if the new owners come in at Milan, Milan will be going for him, also because the player apparently is open to a move to Milan. Now, also his former agent had this to say regarding the possibilities of teams in which he could go for. He said he won't go to Inter because the coach, Stefano Pioli, is not crazy about him, but he said he'll do very well with Vincenzo Montella at Milan, and the incoming sporting director, which is Mirabelli, admires him. Now, Mirabelli, for you guys that still don't know who this is, he is the new sporting director that will be coming in once the Chinese sign the final closing, and he has already been doing a lot of work in the background, taking notes of players that could potentially join next summer. Keita being one of these players, Bernardeschi, Berardi, even Musacchio, a target that we were looking at back last summer for the defense, is one of the players that he's taking notes of. So definitely Keita is a player that interests not only Milan, not only the Chinese, but also Majorino. So apparently, Milan could be perhaps the only team in Italy who could afford this player, with 30 million euros being worth. We're going to have to wait until the Chinese come. And like I said, I don't think there's a possibility that he will arrive this winter, but chances are that he could be coming in the summer. I've been saying this for the last couple of days, but like his former agent just reported, chances are he won't go to a team this winter. He's part of the Africa Cup of Nations. Chances are that he might even be getting injured. Like I said, I hope nothing happens to him, but there is that possibility. Therefore, teams have to be more aware of these particular situations moving on towards the end of the second half of the season. Now, I also wanted to speak about the two players, Vangioni and Rodrigo Eli. Both players have been linked out of Milan. They haven't been getting any playing time this season, and I've said this also for the last couple of weeks. Apparently, they might be joining Sevilla, and Vangioni specifically, he has been receiving a lot of offers around Europe. Like I've also spoke about Vangioni and Rodrigo Eli being linked to Genoa in an attempt to possibly get Laxalt from Genoa. but it appears to be that the two players are close to joining Sevilla. This is being reported by Milan TV, the official Milan TV channel of the team. So, chances are these reports are pretty approachable and pretty realistic. Therefore, Vanjoni and Rodrigo Eli could move to Sevilla. It could be definitely a possibility. Chances are they will be leaving no matter what. If it's Sevilla or another team, they will be getting out of the squad this winter because they're not getting any playing time, and they definitely need some playing time in their legs to move on forward with their careers. So we'll see what happens with them. But one little comment that I wanted to make about this is if they do join Sevilla, it might be that Milan could sell them. And what I mean by this is because we usually don't really loan out many players to other countries. Sure, yes, we do with younger players, such as we saw with Odumadi or Mastor, or name it, other players, of course. But what I mean is, usually we tend to loan players in Italy, and I'm not sure about this potential loan to a club outside of Italy like Sevilla. Would it mean that Sevilla are interested in buying these two players? We're yet to see. But if we do sell these players, we might be generating some transfer money, and who knows, maybe we could even use that transfer money in this specific window. All remains to be seen. We don't know if they're going to be leaving on loan or being sold just yet, but we definitely need to pay attention to this moving on in the next few days. Finally, I did want to speak about Deulofeu because there are some updates considering the player, not necessarily in the negotiations going towards a possible arrival at Milan, but more towards what Everton are currently saying to Milan at the moment. They're saying that they cannot really give an answer to Milan because there are many injuries in their side, and they just can't say if Deulofeu will be needed for the second half of the season. Like I said, Deulofeu is a player that could potentially arrive if we get rid of maybe Niang. We need to possibly get rid of a player to generate transfer funds to sign him. I don't know if Everton is really buying the idea of giving it to us with a loan or option to buy or no option to buy. There were also reports considering that Roma were ahead of the race to sign Deulofeu, but at the moment it seems like he won't go anywhere. Everton wants to keep him because there are many players are injured at the club, and Deulofeu might be needed for them to actually stay at the club, and he will actually be used, in the second half of the season due to these injuries. So at the moment, we still don't really know what Everton's answer is. I think they want to evaluate these injuries before giving us an honest response, an honest answer. Will they be able to give us Deulofeu this winter or not? I think they still need to evaluate the extent of these players' injuries before they come to a conclusion. So like I said, not many news specifically to talk about today in terms of updates considering the players, but I still want to know what you guys think is going to happen at Milan. If you guys have any questions in general, any comments regarding what I spoke about today, let me know in the comment section below, as I'll be reading your comments very, very soon. So let's get right into it. First of all, C-Dart says, Gio, any updates on the defensive targets for Milan? It's known that SES does not prefer Paletta. And Paletta is a player that him and his agent are willing to get a contract extension at Milan. They want to stay at Milan for the long term. And his agent had even said a few weeks ago that he wants to tell the Chinese that this player could be at the club for many years, and he could also bring experience to younger defenders at Milan. And personally, I think that he's a player that should be staying at Milan. He wants more in wages, he wants a lengthy contract, and that is what is really bothering the Chinese at the moment, because they're not quite sure if they want to keep him for the long run. But Paletta, to me, is a perfect example. Even if he doesn't get a lot of playing time as a starter, I think he can still be a very reliable player to have on the bench. But in terms of defensive targets, like I said, the Chinese apparently will be going after Musacchio once again. A very big possibility, as Majorino is currently taking a look at this player. Like we have seen last summer, he might be going after him once again next summer to potentially sign him once the transfer funds come in. So that is what we know so far in terms of defensive targets. We're going to have to keep on waiting to see really what will happen in terms of that. Aniket says, Gio, if Deulofeu bid fails and Keita also doesn't come, what are the options that Galliani has? Which other wingers are targets? There are other targets such as Yese. People were saying, well, there were reports saying that Yese could potentially be one of the transfer targets, and he's not been getting much playing time at PSG. And his coach even said it. He needs to get playing time. He needs to join another club. But at the moment, there are no real negotiations with him. In terms of wingers, those are really the hot names that make up the latest news, realistic news at least. But in terms of other wingers, we really don't have any updates. You guys probably heard of a lot of other names, but here on Rossoneri TV, we don't take news from unrealistic sources or not reputable sources. We get them from actual sources that are proven to be positive, realistic. So if it doesn't come from Rossoneri TV, I mean, if we don't mention it, it's because the big sources such as Sky, Gazzetta, and so forth are currently not reporting that. Giuliano says, let's sell Vangioni and Eli and then let's sell Poli, money that Milan can need. And like I said, if we actually go on to sell those players, we could generate a bit of money. We'll see where we take it from there, if we're able to purchase anyone. But I still don't know if Vangioni and Eli would possibly leave on loan or get sold. This is something that we're going to have to wait and see really once the negotiations with Sevilla start. I'm pretty sure there is already some interest from Sevilla, that's for sure, but I don't think that the negotiations for those players really started yet, or else we would have heard more concerning those players. Ruthwick says, we are linked to Berardi, Bernardeschi, Keita, and Musacchio, but our biggest problem is the midfield. What are your thoughts? That's a very good observation that you made there, because once again, we haven't really been linked to any midfielders, and I think this is something that's gonna move on more towards the start of next summer. We definitely need midfielders in this winter transfer window. I'm not expecting any midfielders to be signed. Milan Balde, the regista, could be an option for Milan in the summer too, because like his agent said, he won't renew with Fiorentina. And he said it doesn't really matter if we don't renew with Fiorentina, because June is almost here. They're going to have to wait maybe a half a year or something, few months before he gets out of Fiorentina. And Milan will definitely be a welcome destination for the player. Fernando says, if Keita was to come in the summer, would you sell Bacca or Niang? If we do sell Bacca, I think that we're going to need another striker, a better striker maybe than Bacca. If we do sell him, I don't think that I'll be able to sell Bacca and just get Keita. We need a replacement for Bacca if he leaves in the summer. Personally, I don't think he will leave. I think he will still play at Milan for a bit. But everything could still happen. I'm not quite sure if the Chinese really intend to keep Bacca for the long run. The player and the agent himself want to remain at Milan for the long run. They want to win a lot of trophies at Milan. Apparently, the player is actually motivated a lot more after that Supercoppa win a few weeks ago. So once again, I want to see how Bacca develops in the second half. I'm sure he could bang in the goals like we've seen last season with a worse team. He was capable of scoring at least 20 goals last season with a worse team. I'm sure he's capable of doing more. So let's see what the second half has for him. Dean Darko says, what is the current market value of Poli, Vangioni, and Eli? I simply don't know how much those players will go for. I have no absolute idea. At the same time, it doesn't really matter what their market value is. You could see, for example, Luis Adriano, a player that was at least worth 7 or 8 million, and the guy is leaving for close to nothing. You know, he's leaving for potentially 1 million euro and euros. So really, I don't think market value has much to say on what we sell those players for, on how much we could get from those players. So we're gonna have to see what happens with that. Volcano says if Deschio goes, who will get his place? Except of course Antonelli. Good question. Not quite sure because Deschio naturally is a right back, you know, and in the other days, in recent days actually, he's been playing as a left back. But you know, Antonelli is a player that I like in that left back position. I always said Deschio plays better as a right back, but at the moment I really don't know who could replace him. It's not like we have that many left backs. We have a lot of right backs with Abate and Calabria, but in terms of left backs, we don't have many options right now. And Deschio was kind of converted to a left back, let's be honest, because that's not really his natural role. But we'll see what happens with him as well. Aniket says, Gio, we will have to free up slots to buy new midfielders. Which midfielders will we be selling to make way for new ones? Good. Once again, good question there. In terms of midfielders, Poli could leave. Maybe Honda could leave. Yeah, Honda plays more as a winger, but he could also play as a right mid sometimes. We've seen it happen already. But in terms of midfielders, yes, like I said, Poli is one of those names. I don't know, maybe there could be a case that either Montolivo or Bertolacci could leave next summer. We'll see what happens, but we're definitely going to have to replace some if we want to get better players. We're going to have to sacrifice some players, that's for sure. Gio says, can Vanjoni retrain as a winger? He could play as a midfielder. He is known to play as a midfielder. I'm not quite sure if he could play as a winger, but yes, he could play as a left back and a midfielder, but I don't think Montella will be willing to try him out in the midfield. I know there are better options out there than Vanjoni playing in that mid. On the left side, we could put Pasalic or Bertolacci for that matter, so, or Bonaventura rather. So we'll see what happens there. Manuel says, to be honest, Bertolacci is doing well. Pasalic had become a good option, so I don't really think we need a midfielder until the summer transfer window. We only need a winger. You know, I think we're okay in the midfield. We have Pasalic, a guy that I really wasn't expecting at the beginning of the season to have such a positive outcome on this team. Then we got a guy like Bertolacci coming back from injury. Sure, Montella has to work with him. He has to give him confidence. But players like Kuchka, you know, or Locatelli, players are always solid, and you know that they can give performances on a weekly basis. I think we need to start from there and rotate some players. Also, Bonaventura could play as a midfielder, having Niang as a winger. So I think we're pretty set for at least this season. My main concern comes if we do qualify for Europe, and we probably will qualify. Obviously, knock on wood, let's hope we do. But if we do qualify, then we're definitely going to need better midfielders. This midfield cannot compete in Europe. Let's be honest with ourselves. We need better players. So we'll see what happens with that. But definitely, I think that so far this season, I think we might as well do without any great additions in terms of midfielders, but next year we're definitely going to need some midfielders if we're going to want to compete in Europe. Giano says, do you think that in the summer Milan will sign a player that costs like 30 to 50 million? If the Chinese come, I could almost guarantee that we will be spending about that money on a player. Just Keita himself is gonna, at least Lazio's gonna ask 30 million at least. So I think, yes, it's a very big possibility that we could be spending that amount of money on a specific player. Antonio says, what formation would you use? I still like the 4-3-3. I really like that formation. It's working very well, and hopefully we'll continue with that formation. I like it. Also, some people I know have been suggesting a 4-3-1-2. That could be a solution. But, you know, I really like playing with a formation with wingers. We have very good wingers. Suso, if Keita Balde comes in on the wing there, to replace Niang. We could have two very speedy wingers that are working wonders for us. So I really do like that formation. Edel Fico says, Gio, if you'll have to choose, who would you rather sell, Suso or Bonaventura? You guys really like to put me on the spot, eh? Suso or Bonaventura? That's not a nice question to ask, honestly. I can't answer that. Honestly, it's just too hard. I can't choose that. Geek 101 says maybe we could try Honda as a midfielder, and will Montolivo take a look at Daly's place when he returns? How long do we have to wait until he does? Okay, I'm gonna answer your first question first. Honda, could he play as a midfielder? Yes, he could, but would he play in that in the midfield? I really don't think so. When you got a guy like Kuchka bringing in that physicality to that midfield, Honda has been given the chance to play as a mid. He hasn't done anything great. I think you need a player like Kuchka with his physicality also to help the defense at times. So if I had to personally choose between Kuchka or Honda, I would definitely go with Kuchka. For Montolivo, taking a look at Daly's place when he returns. Honestly, I don't think so. For various reasons. By the time Montolivo comes, it's going to be around April, maybe late April, we'll say. And there's just going to be a few weeks before the end of the season. Will he be able to start games and replace Locatelli in that position? I simply don't think so. So, to me, I don't think that Montolivo will be getting much playing time even when he does return. What do I think about Pasalic staying at the club, says Mina. Definitely a welcoming option. I really liked what he's shown so far at Milan. I think that, he's really shown a lot of good things. Once again, I want to see what he's capable of in the long run. We've seen him have a positive first half of the season. He didn't really play that many games, let's be honest. But when he did play, he surprised a lot of people, and I really liked what I've seen from him. Capable of doing very good things at such a young age. But I want to see how he develops in the second half of the season. Will he show us more of the same, or will he downgrade or lose his form? So I definitely want to see what he could bring in the second half of the season. I will welcome him. If he continues on this road, I will definitely welcome him. Carlos says, Gio, do you think we could use with another CB in the summer, or even a goalkeeper old enough but also better than Storari? Another CB, definitely I could see that happening. Like I said, we're interested in Musacchio. Maybe when we actually have the money to sign him in the summer, we can go for him. For goalkeeper, I simply don't know about that. I don't think that Storari is going to stay more than June, to be honest with you. I think he's going to leave after the season's done. But speaking of that, Storari to Milan is pretty much a done deal, because he wasn't even called up by Cagliari to feature against us on Sunday. So it's pretty much a done deal. Gabriel will be going to Cagliari, and Storari will be coming to Milan. Antonio, yes, I'm more than happy that we beat Juventus twice. Seedart says, Gio, what do you feel about the club now being run by former Interista? Well, I think that all the time you kind of see these things happen in football. It's not always that you're going to get, fans of the club being in charge of the administration or the staff, for that matter. As long as he does a good job, gets us the players that we need, and brings us up where we belong, I'll be happy with it. I don't really hold grudges on people just because they're fans of another team. I still want to see the results, though. If they're capable of bringing the results, there's no problem with that for me, at least. Sorry if I didn't really pronounce your name right. Past Crusader says, Ciao Gio, seems to me that Milan needs goals with someone up front who can pass and dribble like Suso. Maybe sell Honda and Adriano. Is Keita the best choice? Who's your dream choice? At the moment, I think Keita is the best choice if we do bring him in. Like I said, skillful, fast, could bring in goals, assists, you name it. A player that's very similar in terms of at least getting the results like Suso. And if we have two threats like that on both wings, I'll be more than happy. For Honda and Adriano being sold, we're not going to get much from Adriano. We could maybe get $1 million or free it's going to be a free transfer of 1 million. I'm still not quite sure on what the final financial deal is going to be, but it's going to be around that range. Honda, same thing goes for him. I don't think we could get very much from him. So, even if we do sell those players, don't expect anything in terms of buying someone that is worth it. But yes, I think that Keita at the moment is definitely a big player that could come to Milan. I don't think he's going to come in the winter. It's more like something that's going to happen in the summer. Aniket says, Gio, should we experiment in the Coppa Italia? We're definitely going to see some rotation. But, at the same time, we hopefully will get the result that we need. We'll hopefully win that match. Jim says, try and make videos with football YouTube channels from England so that you get more attention. Subscribers already done with one channel. Unfortunately, I cannot just get on any channel and speak about Milan, especially if we're not playing against any of the teams. It will make no sense at all. So if the occasion arises, then I will definitely contact them. But at the moment, it really doesn't seem like it. Andy Faster says, do you think we can beat Juve again this season in the Serie A and maybe in the Cup if you play against them in the quarterfinal? Anything is possible. I mean, we beat them twice already. And like many people say, there's never two without three. So, yes, why not? We can definitely beat them. I think we're very confident now when we play these top teams like Juventus. Hopefully we'll get even better results in the second half of the season against teams that we weren't capable of beating, such as Napoli or Roma. It's nice to beat Juventus, but I also want us to beat other teams up there, such as Napoli, Roma, or Inter for that matter. Maybe I'm gonna answer one or two more questions. Jim 10 says, which channel? I was on Chelsea Fan TV once, but I think their channel closed. Anyways, getting to your questions, Harold says, Gio, are there any major talents in the Primavera squad? Maybe another Locatelli or striker. The team is filled with talents. I don't specifically watch them on a weekly basis like I do with the senior squad, but if you guys even take a look at the highlights, I know Milan, their social media accounts pretty much highlight or showcase even most of their games in terms of highlights. So if you guys want to take a look at them, check those out. But yes, they definitely have some interesting players there. Antonio says, you think Inter is doing bad this year? What is happening with them? Inter, they're being quite sneaky actually. They started off bad, but slowly they're getting back in their ways. They're getting some decent results. I'm just taking a look at it because I don't think they're that far from us anymore. As a matter of fact, let me check. They are only 3 points away. Yes, they do have a game more, but they're only 3 points away, guys. They won their last 3 games. I think we have to be careful, Like I said, we're capable of doing very good things with this team, but at the same time, we have to be wary of the other teams around us. There's teams like Inter, Atalanta, Roma, Napoli, Lazio. There's just so many teams in contention for Europe's place at the moment that we're going to need to get consistent results and not just win 1 or 2 games a month. We have to get consistent results, build winning streaks, and hopefully end the season in the Champions League positions. Anika says, Gio, which teams in Serie A do you consider better than Milan at the moment? To be honest with you, the teams that I'm more afraid of, besides Juventus, I'm afraid of Napoli. Napoli is a very, very good team. And even though they're behind Roma at the moment, I think that eventually they will surpass Roma. Napoli, they have many things going for them. And even with their main signing last summer, Milik, being out due to injury, they've still been able to get very, very good results, especially through Insigne, Hamsik, and Mertens. So once Milik comes back, I think they could even become a stronger team. And to me, if I had to choose one team that is stronger than Milan at the moment and that I'm afraid of, definitely I would say Napoli. Alright guys, that's gonna wrap it up for today. Thank you all for watching. Once again, don't forget to subscribe to Rossoneri TV, guys. Honestly, I work very hard to bring you guys daily live streams to the channel. Always keeping you guys up to date with Milan news and rumors. I take time out of my schedule to make these videos for you guys, so if you guys haven't yet and do appreciate my work, you could reward me with by hitting that subscribe button. Also hit on that like button if you haven't yet, if you enjoyed this video. Tomorrow I'll be back for the match preview of Milan Cagliari, and of course on Sunday we got the live stream watch along throughout the game, followed by the match review. So thank you all guys for joining me today. Once again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you tomorrow for another video. This has been Gio signing off, and as always, Forza Milan!